Good evening, everyone, and welcome tonight to the update, day number 184. It's August the 26th, 2022, and coming to you tonight from the streets of Helsinki, Finland. And I can tell you it's so different being here and getting the information real time, talking to my contacts real time, and doing all of those things. Plus, speaking to Europeans. I'm actually at an event right now speaking, and represented in this event is at least 15 different European nations. So it's very interesting to be able to talk to people from different European countries, get their perspectives on the war. And what I can tell you right now is things are very, very uneasy here in Europe. But got a big update for you tonight. And as you saw in the title, really a couple of interesting statements from my Finnish friend, and you will enjoy that. Very interesting. Very interesting. So hang around for that and you'll get it. So day 184, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for everyone. 9 o'clock Eastern there on the East Coast of America, 4 a.m. in Ukraine. And Jeffrey Burnett, I know you're there moderating, so thank you for all of that. Today's been a very, very active day in Ukraine as far as the airstrikes. You guys have been with me for 184 days. You know the map very well. Hardest hit cities today were Zaporozhye and Kharkiv. Once again, for the last 3 or 4 days, it's been Zaporozhye and Kharkiv. In addition to that, Mykolaiv struck very hard. Nikopol, that would be the city across the river there from Energodar, the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, struck very hard. In fact, we received updated numbers today. Nikopol is a city typically having a population of 120,000 people. And we've been following that city for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's continually being shelled. About 80,000, and this would be according to Kyiv, about 80,000 of the residents have left. Only about 40,000 people remain in Nikopol, and it really is being devastated. As well today in Avdiivka. Avdiivka would be one of the cities over by Donetsk. Avdiivka would be a key city that will lead on that highway up to Bakhmut. Avdiivka today was struck, civilian target. The central market was struck and burned to the ground. Very, very terrible, destroyed. And finally, Sumy. Once again, Sumy starting to hit the news. This would be the city up to the north, west a little bit of Kharkiv. Sumy continuing to be shelled, but it is increasing more and more there in Sumy. Additionally, Kyiv put out a warning today that says they are expecting more attacks on Kyiv itself and on Lviv. I know that's the capital and the key western city where humanitarian aid and military aid and all of the refugees are going in and through, but they are expecting an increase in Kyiv and in Lviv. And the reason being, nice helicopter there, the reason being is that these are called the decision-making centers. And of course, Kyiv being the brain center, but Lviv really being the decision-making center for the West influence, staging grounds for military supplies. So they come out of Kyiv today. Lviv and Kyiv we'll keep our eyes on. Secondly, I want to talk about Belarus. Remember the nation that's not participating in the war? They have extended their military training and their border buildup and their preparation until September the 3rd. It was August the 13th. Now they've extended it again and again. So now through September the 3rd. And today, actually, Lukashenko made some pretty ill remarks towards Scholz and Macron. It's interesting being here in Europe. I get everything like real time. It's crazy. I would get it in America, but maybe I'm sleeping or away from the computer. Here, I'm getting it real time, and I'm in the same time zone as Ukraine right now. But Scholz and Macron were spoken down. I'll just tell you, Lukashenko called them little children today. He called Scholz and Macron little children while they try to negotiate and be representatives to stop this war. In addition to that, Belarus, one more thing in the news there, Belarus stated today that they are re-equipping their aircraft to be nuclear capable ready, meaning that they could carry, and that there was adjustments. And I'm sure you military guys in here know that it's not just like carrying a regular missile. They have to have adjustments and changes, but they are said to be reconfiguring their aircraft to do that. We know that mandatory evacuations are happening in Donetsk. In addition to that, Irina Vereshchuk, she is the lady responsible for all of that in the humanitarian quarters, came out today and says it's looking like that compulsory evacuations are coming for Kharkiv, for Zaporozhye, and for, I got it written down here, Mykolaiv, Zaporozhye, and Kharkiv. Yeah, not in the studio, so my notes are right here. So we already know Donetsk is under mandatory evacuations, and of course, not everybody's leaving. They have nowhere to go. There are rescues happening. There are Good Samaritans that are doing wonderful work, and coming soon, we're going to be doing some of that work and showing you live when we're able, and reporting and keeping you updated and doing the best we can to help people. But it looks like the evacuation is going to expand to Kharkiv, Zaporozhye, and Mykolaiv. I want to talk to you about Crimea for a few minutes. Crimea, of course, very important, that island peninsula that is actually Ukrainian sovereign territory, and we know that Russia uses it for staging their equipment, moving it up. Ukraine has struck some wonderful targets there. It has changed the environment in Crimea, but I can tell you that over the last few days, Russia has been working very intently on re-stabilizing that region as far as logistics, military buildup, the ability to transport, changing the way they're defending their territory, recognizing now, whether through sabotage or through drones or other ways, that Ukraine is now able to actually strike Crimea. In addition to that, Russia came out, and I verified this today with 3 sources in Ukraine. They are preparing to deploy tactical nuclear capabilities to Crimea. Do I think they would use them? No. Do I think they will use it for fear? Yes. Do I think they also, check this out, would deploy it so that it would hinder Ukraine from striking? Absolutely. This is all tactical. Not just a tactical nuke, but it's tactical. If we put these weapons here, if we prepare these logistical centers, and we were actually to put some of these weapons here, then Ukraine can't strike it, because they will not risk setting off a tactical nuclear weapon. So that's multiple sources today. I had one early this morning, and then the second one came, and then the third one came, and I says, okay, 3 witnesses is enough from very reputable sources. Fifth, Mariupol. We've been talking about Mariupol since the war began. Mariupol is getting ready to start school, but of course that is going to be Russian curriculum, Russian schools, and many Ukrainian people there are saying, we're not sending our kid to those schools. Well, the government in Mariupol, the fake government, the DNR, came out today and said, if you do not send your kids to school, you will forfeit all social services in this city. Now, I'm not really sure what social services they are providing, because people there are still struggling to get some water to drink and have some food to eat. They have no infrastructure. They're living outside in many situations. So I'm not really sure what they're talking about, but that is what came out today. Biggest story in Europe, and I heard a lot about this even tonight. $3,500 per 1,000 cubic meters of gas is expected to be unfolding. And you may say, well, man, it's only August. Well, let me tell you something. It's already chilly here. I may have my Hawaiian shirt on, but it's getting chilly in Finland already in the nighttime hours. And I know I'm very north right here. But it doesn't take long, folks. It doesn't take long. In 30 days from now, it can be downright cold in Europe, in Ukraine, and it can switch just like that. So they are preparing now because it is a very serious situation. And this is a part of the plan of Vladimir Putin to extend this war out, to put more dependence and necessity for gas and energy so that Russia could swoon in as the savior, so that people will not be struggling with heat, electricity, gas, etc. coming this winter. Down in Mariupol, Ivan Fedorov, the mayor there, sent out a report today that Russia has moved in 10 chemical treatment centers. Now, they would be mobile chemical warfare treatment centers. I saw pictures of those today, and they basically look like a 53-foot tractor trailer. But these are set up to cleanse people, of course, their leadership. And that's what the article and the reports that I got today, it was talking about. It would go for their officers and the important people if there was a chemical attack where they could be treated. They are moved and set up now at the military base that Russia has established in downtown Melitopol, and that is directly from the mayor there, Ivan Fedorov. Iranian drones, hundreds of them, are already in service in the Russian Federation and Russian forces. Remember, we talked about it, and then Russia said, well, we're not going to use their drones. We're not going to be dealing with their drones. And how are you? We're not going to be using their drones. We're not doing any of that stuff. Yeah, we're going to put their satellite into space, but no, we're not using their drones. Well, we knew they would. And right now, Russian forces are still being trained on the usage, but we know that hundreds of those drones are already in Russian hands. I can tell you again, today, Antonovsky Bridge there just upriver from Kherson was struck again. And you say, well, hey, didn't you tell us 3 or 4 days ago that the bridge was struck and it's not usable anymore and it can't be repaired? That's true. But what they've been building right below that bridge is a pontoon bridge connecting these barges together. Not a good idea. That was struck today. Here's my advice for the Russian Federation and the forces. I would leave that area alone because Ukraine can whack that Antonovsky Bridge in that area. Number 10 tonight, in 10 out of 24 oblasts, regions, states, however you would like to think about it, whatever nation you're watching in, the Russian Federation has used, since the war began, prohibited munitions that are cluster munitions. And this came out today. It's interesting when you're here on the time zone. Ukraine put out a report today that says, okay, world, what are you doing? In 10 of our 24 oblasts, basically 2 more oblasts, you could then say 50% of our nation, Russia has used cluster munitions, which are banned for use near civilians. And they've all been used near civilians. In fact, Ukraine came out today and says, not only have they been used, but our nation, Ukraine, is the only nation on the planet right now that we know of that cluster munitions are being used. So, world, what are you doing? Those that are supposed to be supporting us and helping us and stabilizing our situation and sending us weapons, NATO, UN, you're just letting them do this, and nobody says a word about the cluster munitions. And finally, the last thing I want to give you before I roll my chat with my Finnish friend for a couple of minutes, and you'll be very interested in that, is this. You know, I shared with you last night my story about the sanctions and having a couple of Russian citizens behind me, and they did not know that I could speak Russian, and I understood them perfectly. They could see my Ukraine patch, and they were just talking about the sanctions. And then I explained to you about when I landed in Helsinki and seeing the Russian tourists there. And I had people reply to me, well, Russians and people still need to be able to have holidays and tour. And I understand that. I'm not anti-good Russian people. I have many wonderful Russian friends and family. But I understand, and I think Ukraine understands and the world understands. The only way this war is going to stop is A, Putin is defeated and kicked out of Ukraine, or internally things happen in Russia. And when we allow sanctions to go on but not really being enforced, it just perpetuates the problem We need pressure to come from the Russian people. And I know you will be there tonight watching, wherever you're at in the world, and you'll say, well, when they pressure them, they're put in jail. When they protest, they're arrested. You're right. I agree. But it's the answer. It's one of the possible answers. That so many people would rise up and say, what you're doing is wrong, and this does not represent us. This represents terrorism and evil, and it needs to stop. That is one of the purposes of the sanctions on people. The visa issues. You can't travel through here. I had a report come today that you may not believe this, and I know many people watch, and you're in the United States, and United States right now is still spending $1 billion per month to Russian imports. I know you're sitting there going, hold on, we're sanctioning them. We are, but not every industry. There are certain industries that products are still flowing, not only through the world, but even into the United States. These sanctions are by sectors. It's not a universal embargo on all goods. And it's very dangerous. $1 billion a month. That's just the United States. What's happening in other nations as well? Folks, we have to consider that. We have to think about that. $1 billion a month going into the coffers. You see, until we draw a real line in the sand, and I believe that's what Zelensky did a few days ago. He said, we're drawing a line in the sand. And he began to inform other nations. Thank you for helping us. Thank you for guiding us. But you know what? Sorry, they can't do this anymore. They can't do this anymore. We have to support. So there you have it tonight, folks. You're fully updated on day 184. Reporting to you tonight from Finland. A couple more days here. Monday down in Poland. And then on into Ukraine. We were working today with Zhenya on arranging more humanitarian aid and getting more resources for that. And that's looking really good. Keep you posted. In fact, we've got some conversations going on right now with some guys in Kyiv for that. So we're excited about that, having some more resources and possibilities for providing and acquiring humanitarian aid. So thank you for that. Before we roll out tonight, I want to roll my friend in. And this is straight from a Finn. I think you will enjoy this. And after that, we'll close out and say thank you. So let me say thank you now. Here is my little chap, my Finnish buddy. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. Peace to you and peace to Ukraine. We'll see you tomorrow. Be blessed. Now check this out from the Finn. Good morning, everybody, from Helsinki, Finland. Well, we're a little bit north. I want to introduce you to my friend here, Jonas. He's a man of God. He's also a chef. He is a jack of all trades and trying to be who God's called him to be.
That makes us two.
That's
and
right.
Correction, not in Helsinki, Tuusula.
Oh, Tuusula. We're in Tuusula, north of Helsinki, Finlandia.
Finlandia.
Beautiful place.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you. You and I had an early morning conversation this morning, and I just have one question for you because we have a community here that watches from all over the world. And we've seen Finland in the news. We've seen Finland joining NATO, and that is unfolding. We've seen the Finns be very strong in the past. Remember back to 1939 when they had to deal with Russia way back then. And I know that the Finns are strong, and they're a wonderful people, and I love it here. But you made a statement to me this morning because we're trying to understand what's happening in the world, not only from an American viewpoint, because we have viewers from all over the world, but a global viewpoint. So here we are now in Finland, and you told me something very interesting this morning. That is, Finland struggles with leadership. And you made a couple of statements of where Finland looks for like political and international leadership. Where do they look?
First of all, they look to the United States, and they are so fond of the democratic
Party
principalities and the grades and the values, and it's like they're proclaiming that in the media. But that's connected with the European Union, with the globalism. So it's American going together with the European globalism. And that's what they're constantly pushing out. And the Finns, they realize that it's not healthy. They realize that it's junk food, but still they eat it because there is nothing else on the table. And no one is coming. I'm speaking from the perspective of a chef.
Yeah.
No one is coming and really doing the work and preparing the good meal.
And right now, that seems to be the problem. You know, everything on these podcasts each night or during the day is based on the war in Ukraine and what's happening globally with that. And many times through this, I've talked about leadership. And we've looked at, for example, President Zelensky, who's really doing a good job leading and trying to do his best in a nation that's being attacked. We see, of course, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, who's doing what he does. We've seen whether it be the EU with Stoltenberg or United States with Biden, and we can just list them on and on. But the bottom line is, in the world today, we have a leadership vacuum, and it's an absence of leadership. And here, Finland being a key nation, you're right on the border with Russia. We're just miles from St. Petersburg. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah.
And
Few
right
hours.
right across the Baltic is Estonia. And we know they're being very strong with their statements in regard to Russia. And then you go down through the Baltics and Belarus. We're all right here. And it's very close. And unfortunately, whether it's biblical principles or natural principles, good and bad rise and fall on leadership. And right now, the Finns are looking for good leaders. So, you know, folks, here you have it. This is a Finn. And Jonas, thank you.
Thank you.
North of Helsinki.
No,
What are we?
out of Helsinki.
Out of Helsinki. North of Helsinki.